Perfect timing. Didn't mean for the critical role to come up yet, but hey, that works too. How's everybody doing? Happy Sunday. Here we are again. Here we are again. Oh, look, there's the script for today. I was trying to post that in the description. Let me do that now. Let me try it again. I couldn't do it through Restream. So I'll do it this way. How's everybody doing? Where'd my chat go? Where did my chat go? Here we go. Let's see. I can do it right here. Yes, I think that will work. Okay, that should have updated the description, hopefully. There's a couple other things I want to put in there, but for now, that'll do. That will do. How's everybody doing? Woohoo! We're going right out the bottle today. This is Reese is saying, can we not do wLED because it's getting old? That's because you're not putting lights up on your house, Reese. You're not in charge of putting the lights up on your house. That's why we're all doing wLED. We're going to do wLED for a little bit today. Well, not even wLED exactly. We're going to do more just DigUno boards. We've had a lot of questions about people who couldn't get something working. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, Reese. If you were a dad instead of a kid, then you would be putting the lights up on your house too. What is that thing? Oh, it's a plastic bag over there. I see something in the corner and it's bugging me. Hold on. Okay, that's better. All right. My favorite bold automator on the screen. Me, Mark. Oh my gosh. Look at my national championship shirt. Not national championship, Nevada championship, but anyways. Mention the .boo in Discord. What's the .boo? Blade, tell me. Oh, the .boo, that's right. Is that what you called it? So, I don't know if it was just Blade's idea, but Blade brought it up to me. For holiday season here with Halloween coming up and stuff, and be honest, I think we could all use a little bit of extra festivities of any kind, really, right? To get us just something fun to think about and do, whatever. We're gonna change everybody's name colors in Discord to like orange or something, right? It's festive. It's festive. So what do you have to do? It's a special role. Has to be in Discord. You put on the big screen. Oh, just put you on the big screen. Oh gosh, Torner, I'm on the big screen. Oh. WD-40 on the wheels of your chair. Is that right? Did it squeak too much? Johan, did it squeak? Amari, how you been? Orange is the only color. Okay. All you have to do is type .boo in the chat on Discord. So you got that, everybody? So type .boo, .boo in the chat on Discord, and it will turn your name color to orange. Let's see. Let me show. So who's done it? Who's doing .boo? Rick did .boo. May take a second to update. Switch channels and then switch back. Fun times. This is good stuff. It's good fun. I need to make a video about our little haunted house out there. You guys all saw the castle, the little video we did. Oh, there you go. Reese's is orange now. And Carlo, Hellfire. There you go. Ooh, okay. Everybody's turning orange. Fun times. Yeah, we're going to turn the castle into a haunted house this year. Our little castle playhouse in the backyard. It's going to be a full-on haunted house. We've got the lights, got the dragon lit up now, so his eyes do things. I've got some down by his mouth that match his eyes, and I've got candles on the edges, kind of out a little ways from the dragon, and then some lights behind the dragon as well, so that he really stands out. And now, yesterday, I actually put my oldest Amazon Echo in there, like Gen 1. Like, we bought that Amazon Echo when it was, in beta. And I put it out there, and I put it in a way that I wasn't sure. I was hoping it wouldn't get wet, and I had no idea it was going to rain last night, and it poured rain last night. And so I went out there this morning, but it didn't get wet. My idea worked. I bet you know what, for Blade or some of these guys, why is Halloween shown separately from other members? It's probably because it's a role, Reese. If you have other roles, it probably doesn't supersede your other roles. So if you're a mod or if you've got, other status. Whoa, that is awesome, Mark. Are you kidding? That is so cool. Wow, man, that's your house? Dude, you know how to do the lights, my friend. That is awesome. Who is this funky dude right here, though? I don't know about this. That is scary. That is some Halloween stuff going on. The karma highlights will be orange. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're talking about what's happening in here. All right. Cool. So, yeah, we're going to do Haunted House. So I put the Amazon Echo out there so that we could do music and so that we could do sound effects. And it's going to serve a double purpose because I need it out there. It's, it's fun out there right now for Halloween to play music and sound effects for trick-or-treaters and just at night, every night as we lead up to Halloween. But later on, we have a lot of kids that play in our backyard. We've got that big soccer field park right there. And so we have a lot of kids that just come from the soccer field when their brothers or sisters are playing soccer and they just come and play in our yard. And we're cool with it. We like it. It's fun. Our house gets a lot of use in the backyard beyond just our kids, and that's wonderful. But sometimes they make a mess. Sometimes they wreck things. So now I've got a speaker out there that I can do a text-to-speech, or I can just automate a text message out there that says a text-to-speech message that says, hey, you're welcome to play here. Just make sure you clean up when you're done and don't break anything and da-da-da-da-da. Make sure you pick up, we got those little rubber chips around the castle and they get tossed out a lot. So that's a pain to clean up. Anywho's, how's everybody doing? Okay. So shall we get going? Tech Turtle, you're not too late. You arrive precisely when you mean to. At 10 p.m., get off my lawn. Yep, that's right. Did your brother's house with LEDs and Quinn LED. Original batch ordered. No software on the D1 Mini. Really? Uh-oh. So that's part of what we're going to do today, Tollbringer. That's part of what we're going to do today is we want to talk about if you run into a problem with your Digboard, your DigUno, your DigQuad, you get it from me or Quindor and it's not doing what you think it should do. A lot of you can troubleshoot pretty well. Tollbringer, I'm sure you figured that out pretty quickly that was the problem and you had a process to go through. But we have a lot of people that are not very... the first batch did not have software on the board. Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Well, I'm anticipating that occasionally we're going to see that, a flash didn't take or something. The guys that are building these, the people in China who are building these, they're doing a pretty good job, I think, of quality checking, honestly, because we've had, at least from me, we've sent out a couple thousand almost at this point. We're almost up to 2,000, and I've had a handful, I would say maybe 5, probably not even 5. I'm just kind of trying to overestimate. I can think of at least 3 where somebody said, hey, there's something going on. This thing's not working right. So 3 verified, and I'm guessing there's a few others. So maybe 5 out of 2,000. That's a pretty good percentage. That's 99 point whatever percent that have been perfect. And so, you're going to have a few that slip through the cracks or something. So what we want to do, God, Blade. Jeez. Guys, can you turn off the blue LED, the D1 Mini? No, that's not been built into wLED yet. I know we've talked about it. It's probably on the list of things that will eventually get in there as an option. There's a couple things you can do. One, just get some black paint, like nail polish, and dip it on the LED. That'll work. The other thing you could do if you were so inclined, and you're pretty handy, so maybe you could do this. You can compile the the binary yourself, compile the sketch yourself. So you open up the source for wLED, find the part that controls that little blue LED and take it out, turn it off. I think the easiest thing to do, though, is a dab of nail polish or something on there. What are we fixing today? Just subscribed. Hallelujah. Thank you, sir. Good enough. Always love having you. All right. You're lucky I can't use my acorns to do that. Yeah, we're going to have to never let the acorns do the screen. Uh-oh, so their intermittent tech says, help, Doc. My DigUno is going haywire. Yeah, that's where we're at today, Quindor. That's what we're doing. So I came up with, and this was in conjunction with Quindor. We talked and we thought about what are some of the most common things that people have had issue with or could have an issue with, and how would we, in simple terms, walk somebody through figuring out what the problem is. Oh, Martin. Thank you, Martin. Can I talk about power supply selection? I'm lost when it comes to that. I don't know what PSU per length. Well, but Martin, we can talk about that for a second. It's not a total squirrel, but since you donated so generously, we're definitely going to give you the answer to your question. What PSU per length? So I did a little bit of a calculator here on Dr. Z's shop, and I put it on the Permatrack one. Probably should give it a little bit more of a prominent role, but I put this little calculator here, and I'll post it in the chat for you. And if you put in here what your total roof line length is in feet, so say you're going to do 175 feet, this will tell you if you're buying Permatrack how many pieces of Permatrack you need, how many packs if you're buying in packs. This is, all this stuff is a little bit in flux, right? We're still trying to figure out the business of selling this stuff, which, by the way, is supposed to have landed in Salt Lake a couple days ago. But it is amazingly frustrating to deal with some of these transporters and stuff, because communication is not their strength. So they tell us, oh yeah, it'll be there on the 7th. 7th comes and goes. The 8th, the 9th comes and goes. The 10th, we call them. Oh, yeah, well, maybe the 13th. Are you kidding me? And this is months after it should have been here already. I digress, right? I squirreled again already. So I apologize to everybody who's bought Permatrack and hasn't got it yet, but we haven't got it. As soon as we get it, we are going to be cranking it out. Here, down here at the bottom, it does tell you about power supply, though. And this is based on if you had this many pixels. I think you could just go ahead and put in a number of pixels here. So say you're going to have 500 pixels. Oh, no, it won't let you put it in. No, you got to adjust this up here, because this is based on how many pixels are in the Permatrack. But anyways, so if you have 1,000 pixels, you're going to want 14 amp power supply. They don't sell 14 amp power supply, right? So what you have to do with this is buy one bigger. Okay. So I think for most everything, if you get a 20 amp power supply, you're going to be fine. You're going to have enough power. You don't always need a 20 amp power supply. The tricky part about a 20 amp power supply, this is even a small one, but typically if you're going to get a power supply that big, it's going to look like this, right? It's not going to be in any sort of enclosure. This is actually in some kind of an enclosure. Some of them are worse, like this. This is how you shock yourself with a power supply like that. This is actually, I think, a 15 amp power supply. Pretty sure. So anyways, what's your length, Martin? We'll give you a power supply length. Just watching my 6-year-old lad before bed in the UK. He says hello. Hello, Martin, 6-year-old lad. Some sort of one-stop shop formula into the bot. That'd be great. I mean, the working on the code for ESP32 still. Okay, you guys are chatting about something else. Are you a Dr. Z's Twitch subscriber? Thank you very much, Nightbot. Stove Doctor, how's it going? All right, what else we got here? Hope you do get stuffed by import duties like Rob from the Hookup did. We do get stuffed by import duties, but we kind of build that in. Yeah, and that's another thing that's really hard to guess. You do have to know that that's coming, and you want to try and plan for that. But it's also I don't know how they come up with these numbers. I'm sure there's a legitimate formula, but it's a lot of it's based on what the product is. Like we got hit on the Permatrack because it said LED on the box because it said LED channeling or whatever. And so they charged us as if it were LEDs. And I tried to tell them that's not what it is. It's not what it is. It's not what it is. Open the box and look at it. Didn't do any good. They still charged us a few $100 extra. Hey, Luis. Have a good night, buddy. Dream of pixels and Home Assistant. All right. Is there an easy way to cycle through wLED effects in Home Assistant? I don't know about in Home Assistant. An easy way? Probably not an easy way to do much of this. But if you're going to cycle through wLED effects, I would say just cycle through your presets. So let me think, what presets did where did I set all these presets? I think I set a bunch of presets. Yeah, this one has a bunch of presets set in it. And if you just do the cycle presets button down here, and I think, can you turn on or turn off the cycle presets in Home Assistant? Does anybody know that? I'm not 100% sure on that. But you can say which presets you want it to cycle through and how long you want it to be on each preset. I think, I don't know what the maximum number is, but 300, so that'd be 5 minutes, right? So you could do something like that. And then you just do this, and then you got to turn them on. But if I do this now, every 5 minutes, it'll change from one preset to the next, 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 right? So let's actually not do it let's do it like 5 seconds. Then turn it on. Now it'll cycle every 5 seconds, it'll switch to a different preset, right? Can I add power from different power supplies longer run? Presume I can, but I want to check. And I agree 100% with Quindor always. You can, but yeah, you got to make sure that you don't have, you got to make sure that you don't have one power supply that's smaller than the others. Because what you don't want is for you, because it's going to split the load the amps among the power supplies. And if you've got one 5 amp power supply and one 20 amp power supply, and your load is drawing 10 amps, well, your 10 amp power supply is not going to care. That's fine. But your 5 amp power supply is going to melt. So you can just make sure that you've got them both, you got them sized appropriately. That's probably the biggest thing. Since I took over merchandising for wLED, it's improving so much. Thanks a lot. I took over merchandising. Oh dear. You know what? Since I don't remember who it was. Do you guys remember? It was probably some of you that are here. Somebody told me about wLED, and I was like, wLED, okay, I'll check it out. I'm pretty happy with what I've got. It's working fine, blah, blah. And then I actually finally tried wLED and went, holy cow, this is amazing. And it's all been downhill from there in a good way. Would like to sync on a command like input select next. Yeah, you could do that, Sholify. I can't really tell you quickly off the top of my head how to do that or draw it up for you real easy in YAML or something if that's what you're looking for. It'll take just a bit of trial and error for you, but you'll get there. Oh, and now Bo says hi. He's called Bo, but he's off to bed. Good night, Bo. YAML. Use Node-RED. Blade could probably whip up something out of Node-RED for you. No problem. All right, let's get to business. We've squirreled for a little while. Squirreling is fun. I do enjoy a good squirrel here and there. But let's get to business here. The business of the day is going to be this. Let me fix that camera a little bit since we're going to be looking at it a lot today. Come on, you. Where's the webcam? Just want to make sure it's not like crappy picture all the time. Webcam, there we go. Properties. Configure. You guys can see what I do when I tinker with this. See, that's better already, right? So turn off the white balance. And then we go over here and we turn off the autofocus, and we focus it about where we want it, which is usually around 10. Okay, and then we turn off auto exposure, but we do expose it a little bit more. That's pretty good. Okay, now the camera will look good the whole stream long. Won't that be exciting? All right. Did I see the DIY ping pong lamp? Yep, I did. He's awesome. That's sharp. I'm getting better, huh? All right, Dale, you're finally catching a live stream. Have you not been here before for a live stream, Dale? That's crazy, man. Get you some flying unicorns. So if you've been watching every 5 minutes over, or every 5 seconds over here, oh, you can't see it either. So I'm gonna stop. Anyways, every 5 seconds it was switching. This was switching every 5 seconds. Whatever. Any advice on move parts of Home Assistant to a USB connected? Do a full snapshot. Oh, and that's, we don't, if we get time, and we'll never have enough time, but if we get time, we can talk about Home Assistant 116 today. Oh, but you're here on a Sunday even. All right, Dale. Do a full snapshot of Home Assistant, and then with the newest version of Home Assistant, if you have a crash or if you're like reinstalling, you can now install your snapshot during your setup process. Think about that for a second. So for any of you that have had a Home Assistant catastrophe where your Home Assistant imploded and you, like, your SD card died in your Pi, raise your hand if that's ever happened to you. Now, it used to be you had to get a new SD card, reinstall Home Assistant, install like Samba or SSH, and I don't remember a couple things, and then import your snapshot, and then upload the snapshot, right? And then activate the snapshot. Now, when you're in the process of setting up Home Assistant for the first time, I haven't done it, but I assume it's going to ask you, do you have a snapshot? And if you put the snapshot there, then you can load up the snapshot right there. So it's so good. You talk about how wLED has progressed a bunch, and it has. Wow, has Home Assistant gone? I mean, Home Assistant from a year ago or 2 years ago? It's hardly the same thing as it was 2 years ago. But anyways, tried it yesterday and could not get it to work. Oh, bummer. Decon 1, what couldn't you get to work? The onboarding? The uploading a snapshot during the onboarding, they call it? Is Snapshot has.io only? I wouldn't think so. Not seen it on a Docker install. Well, maybe it is then. If you have it, it's going to be, I think it's under, where is it? I can't remember. Supervisor? Yeah, Supervisor and then Snapshots. That's where I have it. Oh. My pager should work today, Blade, and Sir Good Enough, and anybody else that has pager privileges should work. You should give it a try. So this is where you would create a snapshot, but also you'd have to get to this point. Like, you have to have Home Assistant set up enough. Yeah, it worked, but it comes on with a wrong effect. I need to have it come on solid. It's 217. You want to see? It's a mess. See the lights right there. It's upside down. Oh, D&D tower is in the way. Come on. Right there. I don't know why. That's weird that that's not working. Because they definitely worked. That's trippy. I'm upside down. Yeah. Maybe now it's connected. I wonder why 217 would want to work. Anyways, that's it, and it just came on. But if I can't control it to turn it to solid, then it just plays this funky other thing. I don't know why. Okay. All right, Peter N, thank you for subscribing. Let's get back to business here. So we're going to troubleshoot a wLED board, or I guess that's not the right way to say it. Let's start that over. We're going to troubleshoot a Quindor board, Quin LED board, Quin, the DigUno or the DigQuad. I got one of each here. And we'll kind of walk through some of the things that if you're going to have a problem with them that you might come up with. Yeah, you got in my DuPont organizer? Yep, that's right. I sure did. I got 2 of them. Look at that. We talked about that a few streams ago, right? 3D printed that. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Right now it's just sitting on my desk. I need to put it somewhere a little bit better, but yeah, it's been nice for sure. I don't know why I've lost connection to this one. It's fun. Here's a funny thing is I bet you I can control it in Home Assistant probably. Let's go back here. I know I said we were going to start and we haven't started. Who's surprised? Anyone? Yeehaw! So here my office floor LED says they're on. It says the dragon light's on too. Okay, that is so crazy. Why will this won't come up? Maybe it's the wrong address. I thought that was the right address. Anyways, all right, I'm going to turn on my office floor LEDs here. We're going to turn them on. Okay, so there, I turned them on. Now they should show up here as on. Okay, now I can go here, and I need to change the effect to solid. Oh, it's in alphabetical order. Oh, I'm not used to that. I'm used to the wLED order. Solid. Okay, and it's red. So now I know that it was Blade that paged me. Turn it off. And then if I turn it back on, is it going to go back to theater? No. Okay, now it's on red again. Okay, there we go. Good idea with the car fuses. You like that? That was Quindor. That's Quindor's brainchild there. All right. Now my pager's working. Let's go back. And once again, talk about what we came here to talk about today, huh? Okay. This is a DigUno. And I've got it connected and powered up right now. And it's working beautifully. If I were to go here, actually got it pulled up. You can't see it anyways, but I can turn them on and they all change colors because I was playing with it. The very first thing I want to say is that there's a silly thing that happens to a lot of people, and they feel real silly when we have to tell them that this is what happened. Elvis just subscribed. Awesome! Not enough people are named Elvis. Thank you for subscribing, sir. When we tell people what the problem is, they feel pretty embarrassed. So the problem is they'll hook up their lights and then they'll go, oh, it's working great, but it's only like the first few lights that are turning on. The whole string's not turning on. If you go to the configuration, here we go back to this for a second. Go to configuration, LED preferences. The LED count by default is set to 30. So if you have more than 30 lights, it's only going to light up the first 30. That was an easy one. So change this to the number of lights that you have, and then all your lights will light up. That's the low-hanging fruit, okay? That's the easy one. Wanted to get that out of the way first. Okay, let's look at my notes. All right, so I'm going to disconnect power from this thing now so we can play with it a little bit. Pull my microphone over here so I can sit a little bit closer to the camera, move the camera a little bit so I can be right on top of this thing. And I'm going to need some glasses because there's no way I can see this. Looks like we're just getting started. Yeah, we've been going for a half an hour. We're just barely getting started. We have had a few squirrels. Huh? Yeehaw! Okay. Just a few. They've been mildly related for the most part. I mean, it has either been LEDs or Home Assistant, which is the main topics. All right. So the first thing to check if your wLED board is not doing the right thing, or honestly, before you even turn it on, the first thing to check is this jumper right here. Okay. This is the 12 volt, 5 volt jumper. So this is movable between 12 volts. If you've got it on these first 2 pins, and you can see the writing on the board down here, these first 2 pins, if you put it there, it's 12 volts. If you put it on the next pin over, skipping the first one, now it's on 5 volts. And that is about your power supply and your lights. Okay, if you have 12 volt lights, make sure this is on your 12 volt. Make sure this is 12 volts here. If you have a 12-volt power supply and you connect your jumper to 5 volts, you can damage your LED board. And I would have a really hard time being able to like just give you a new one. You know what I mean? So I don't want anybody to destroy these. I want you to be able to get wonderful use out of it. So please don't make that mistake, okay? If you're going to hook up 12-volt lights, make sure that you've got this jumper on 12 volts. And I'm pretty sure that they come with the jumper on 12 volts, but there is no guarantee. You have to check that, okay? Please, please, please check and make sure that your jumper here is on 12 volts. If it's not, you know, I'm not going to be able to say, yeah, we'll just replace that for you, okay? So please make sure that's the case. Now, I do want to test something. Well, let's not do it right now, but I've seen 12-volt LEDs work with the jumper on 5 volts. But the power supply was 12 volts too, so it'll be interesting to see. Maybe that wasn't right. Maybe it wasn't on 12 volts. But anyways, we'll play with this before the end. But I do think you might see your lights work, even if this is on 5 volts, if you have 12-volt lights. But if you have 5-volt lights and you put this on 12 volts and you hook up 12 volts to 5-volt lights, that's not going to work. That's going to go poof. I wouldn't test that. Yeah, let's not test that until we're ready to destroy something. You can test the jumper on 12 volts with a 5-volt input and LEDs. That's okay. Yeah, there you go. So if you have this on 12 volts, but this is 5, you have 5 volts coming in and 5-volt lights, but your jumper is accidentally set on 12, they should still work. Okay. But if you have 12-volt power and 5-volt lights, bad things are going to happen. If you have 12-volt power and you have this jumper set to 5 volts, bad things are going to happen. Okay. I remember I hooked up 120-volt AC to a small trace on a PCB. It exploded. Okay. So did we beat that to death enough? Make sure your jumper here is on the right voltage for your power supply and your LEDs. And I think for most of us, if you're using these kinds of pixels outside, 12 volts is usually going to be the best. There are a few reasons maybe why you would use 5 volts. I have a lot of 5 volts on my house because I was trying to save a few bucks when I first did it. It's gotten to the point where I don't think saving that few bucks is worth the trouble when you have as many lights as we have now. Or as I have, depending how many you have. Anyway, so 12-volt lights, 12-volt power supply. If you're using these kinds of lights, the strips, like this, these are almost always, but not always, but almost always going to be 5 volts. I would recommend that generally you just use the 5-volt lights because I think the 12-volt ones are kind of a waste of money because they're super expensive and they really aren't going to do much that good. Anyways, then make sure that this is on 5 volts if you're using those strips, okay? Okay, next, the data pin jumper. So over here on the side, you've got this data pin jumper, okay? And it is by default set to GPIO 2. There is an option to have it set to GPIO 3. If you've got it set to GPIO 2, which is the default, okay, then your data wire connection goes right here to where it says L1D. And then if you look down there in tiny writing, it says GPIO 2.3. Oh, I guess that's the same. So no matter which one you've got, that's where your data goes out. This other one is if you've got LEDs that have data and clock. So instead of one wire, you'd have 2 wires. I don't know which ones those are. Quindor can tell you that better than I can. But anyways, make sure that this is on the right one. If you've got it on 3 by accident, maybe it fell off and you didn't know where it was and you put it back on wrong. wLED outputs to GPIO 2. So if you've got this jumper on GPIO 3 and you're trying to run wLED, it won't work. Okay. Troubleshooting is as much fun as building the board. Okay, so GPIO 2, make sure that jumper's on GPIO 2. That's what you need for wLED. Make sure that your data wire is connected to L1D, and the D is for data. The C is for clock, and if you don't know what that's for, then it's not the kind of LEDs you have, so don't worry about that. That's because Quindor built this board with a lot of options in mind, okay? So that's the first 2 things. Let's see. Make sure the data inside. Oh, the other things to check, I just wanted to make sure that you've got the right connections. Make sure that you haven't switched your pluses and minuses. Make sure that your 12-volt 5 volt, whatever power to your LEDs is in the right pin. Make sure your ground's in the right pin. Make sure your data's in the right pin here, okay? So just double check your wires and then double check your fuse. Make sure your fuse hasn't blown, okay? Those are all the simple things. Next, this is the one that I think some people have had recently, and this is what Tollbringer probably saw. And that is, say you power it on, you connect your 12 volts, you connect your power supply here, you power up your Quinn board, but the blue light does not come on your D1 Mini. And if it's a quad, it's an ESP32, which I believe is called a Mini 32. Yeah, it says Mini 32 on it. So if the blue light does not come on this little controller here, then there's a couple things that you need to check. First thing to do is to take the D1 Mini off. Just it pulls off of these little pins here. You're not going to break it. Just pull it off and connect it to a USB power supply like this. And I'm just going to connect it to whatever I've got here. Oh, here I've got one right here. Oh, no, that was not long enough. Okay, so connect it to just USB power. And if the light comes on with USB power, then maybe there's something wrong with the board and we need to go down and that troubleshoot that part. If the light does not come on here, okay, so you had no blue light when you had it on your DigUno, take it off the DigUno, plug it into USB power. Let's assume that there was not a light. Let's assume that the light was not on this. Then what you would do, the first thing that you could do is try and reprogram it. If you want to reprogram it, if you haven't gone through that process yet, you just get the ESP home flasher. This should show up. It should show up as a COM here. If this doesn't show up as a COM, possibly the board is bad. Most likely, your USB cable is not set up for data. I have to label mine because a lot of them are set up just for power. So I label the ones that I know have data wires inside them. Some of them only have 2. For now, this is what you'd be looking at. Okay. So if the light's not on, you might have to add wLED to the board again. You might have to reprogram the board. So you'd go through the process, you find the correct one. For those of you, some people have asked, if you've got a D1 Mini like this, if you're on a DigUno and you've got a D1 Mini, then you're going to do the wLED ESP8266 version. Okay? I'm not going to reprogram this one because it's programmed the way I like it. It's working, so no. Okay. If you're on an ESP32, and Quindor, verify this for me. If you're on the ESP32, then the one that you want is LED pin 16. Correct? It's if you're running on a Dig Quad, then you want ESP32 LED pin 16. Okay? So that's if you're using the quad and if you're running an ESP32 like this. Now you can, for those of you who feel so inclined, you can use an ESP32 on a DigUno. You can do that. It will work. You need to make sure that this is still flashed with the ESP32 version of wLED, but it will work. Yes, ESP32 LED pin 16 for the DigUno and DigQuad with an ESP32 on it. All right, you got that? So if you're using an ESP32, and I think I'm going to make a prediction here and say that there's a day coming where everything we do is going to be ESP32s. It's not that far down the road. I mean, the 8266s are still good for some things, but the 32s are just much better at a lot of things. So probably do this pretty soon. Anyways. So if you try to program, so going down the steps now, the next step. So you try to program your D1 Mini. Maybe it programs and it works great. You now have wLED on it. Your blue light is on. happy days. You take it off, plug it back into your DigUno, and off you go. But if you try to program it and you cannot get it to program, it won't, maybe your COM port, it's not showing up in ESP Home Flasher, or maybe it just never finishes, or it's got some problem, gives you some errors in the ESP Home Flasher software. It is possible that your D1 Mini is bad, okay? If it's bad, if you have one and you don't mind soldering, you can do that. Otherwise, contact us and we'll see what we can do. But you do need to be careful. This is why I warned you about the jumper here. Because if you've got this jumper set to 5 volts and you hook up 12 volts here, it can damage your D1 Mini. And so you may destroy your D1 Mini if you've got, and I've done this. I've done it. You can destroy your D1 Mini if the jumper here is set to 5 volts and you connect 12 volt power to it. All right. That might be another situation where, we'll work with you, but it's, we can't just replace things if you make a mistake sometimes. So anyways, the joys of going into device delivery business. It's like replacements and things. But anyways, I think what we're doing is great, and we're getting a lot of fun, light abilities in the hands of a lot of people for not a lot of money. So I think it's a great thing. We're going to keep on doing it, but it's come with new challenges occasionally. What wire or cable do I recommend? David says, for this kind of wire over here, I'm just using like 20 gauge, maybe 18 at the most, but 20 gauge wire. And this is just speaker wire over here. I'm just way too nice. I am pretty nice. And then on the other side over here, it's similar. It's either 20 or maybe you can get 18 gauge, and it's 3 conductor wire. And I have some listed. I think, Quindor, do you have some on your website as well? If you go to the Dr. Z store on Amazon, it's there. When the pre-assembled Dig Quad will be back in stock in the Dig store. So Jesse, let me tell you what's going on the store right now with buying. So I allowed back orders because I didn't want people to not be able to save their place in line, I guess. So I allowed back orders, and the Dig Quads are all sold. So I had to stop the back orders even for the Dig Quads because I think I went over by a few. So I'm going to have like the last few people that bought a Dig Quad are going to have to wait a while. The DigUnos I still have, and I'm going to let the back orders continue to stack up for a little while. And we're cranking them every day. I've got all the kids. It's pretty funny. Now I've got some video of like the little girls even helping me package and stuff. So, we're still cranking out DigUnos, but the Dig Quads, Quindor can give us an estimate on when the next batch of Dig Quads will be here. I know we are cracking the whips on the poor folks in China to get them here. But I don't know. I mean, if you've put an order in with me for a Dig Quad in the last week, you will get your Dig Quad mailed out in the next week. Just give me some days to get them packaged in the mail. Unless you were those last couple, those last like 3 or 4 people because I oversold them. DigQuads, try the end of this month for a new batch. Okay. So maybe 2-3 weeks, we should have a new batch of DigQuads. Worldwide is still available, but they're running low. So you can do worldwide, and the shipping's a little more, and it may take a little longer to get there. But if you really want it, that might be the faster way to get it. Okay. I want you to get it. Quindor and I have talked about this, and what's the main goal here? And the main goal here is still just to make sure we get these into as many people's hands as want them. Father Time, how's the bug? I haven't touched the bug in a while. I did buy a new battery. And actually, Zachary had a friend. Here we go again with the squirrels. I'm sorry, guys. But it's fun, right? Squirrels are fun. I'll squirrel for a second. It's not going to hurt anything. Because Father Time always says, how's the bug? So Zachary, who you've all seen, at least from the neck down, and he was in the Permatrack video, right? He's a goofball. He has a friend that has, all right, thank you, Mark, for subscribing again. 7 months. Wow. Where does the time go? That is crazy. Thank you. I put the glasses when it becomes really important. That's right. So Zachary has a friend that has a 1980 Volkswagen Vanagon camper van. and he's in love with it. Zachary is now. He wants one. So we're on the lookout now for a Volkswagen bus without a motor, so we can electrify it as well. And they are not cheap, man. Some of these, especially if they're already, like if they're in good shape and they're already a camper van, it is crazy what some of these are going for. I'm talking like, I mean, $15,000, $20,000 at the low end. And if they're nice or new or anything like that, I've seen them up to $70,000. They have like the pop up on the top and everything. Crazy. Anyways, that's where the bug is. Thanks for asking. Okay, back to this. So make sure you don't put the jumper here on 5 volts and then connect to 12 volts because you could have destroyed your D1 Mini. Okay. What can you troubleshoot besides the D1 Mini? That's the biggest thing. This is the one thing we really had a few replacements for. That we've replaced the D1 Minis a couple times for a few people. You got to be real careful that it's not because of this. But these are pretty cheap. Not everybody is good at soldering them. This is a great way to learn to solder because you can get everything lined up perfectly with, like a pegboard or whatever. And then you can solder these real simple. They're real fun and easy to solder, but not everybody wants to do that. That's why people are buying these instead of building them themselves. So anyways, if your D1 Mini is working, okay, the next step, say your D1 Mini is working, you've got it programmed here where yes, the light comes on here, but when you put it on the board, you don't have any light, right? This light doesn't work when it's on the board. Okay, what do you do then? Well, a couple things you might do. It could be that there's a problem with the voltage regulator. The voltage regulator is this guy over here. So what do you do to check that? If you're playing around with these electronics at all, hopefully you've got a voltmeter by now. Okay, like this. This exact one is on my Amazon tools list, and I don't even think it's $15. I think it's less than $15. It might even be less than $10. I can't remember, but they're not expensive. So everybody should have one of these. Robert, you know what? That's what we're doing next time too. Golly, squirrels again. Huh? EV West. So they sell a kit. They're the ones that sell the kit for like $7,000, and it's got the motor and the controller and all the wiring and everything that you need. So for Zachary's bus, once we finally get it, and it might take 6 months or more, but by the time when we get Zachary's bus, we're just going to do the EV West kit. Okay. Back to this. So what are you going to do? So we're going to test the voltage regulator here and see if it is switching 12 volts down to 5 volts. That's what it's supposed to be doing. So let's connect it. I know that there is 12 volt power over here. Make sure my power supply is on. Oh, it needs to be. It's actually my soldering iron connection. Oh no, it is on because I already turned it on earlier today. So we know that that's on. Okay. So now I'm going to set my voltmeter here so you can see it. You can't see it because it's too bright. Maybe if I turn off the backlight, you can see it. Turn off the backlight. There we go. Okay. So we're going to check here, make sure, first of all, that we're getting 12 volts. Great. We're getting 12.25 volts. And I tested that just by touching the connectors right here. Okay. All right. Now, we're going to see if this thing is going to give us 5 volts. Okay. So down here on the bottom, you have these three connections over here, right? This is V out, ground, and V in. So we can check them. We could probably also check them over here at the jumpers, but we're going to check it over here. Ground. Well, no, I actually couldn't check it at the jumpers. Anyways. So I'm going to touch my ground probe to ground. And then I'm going to touch this to V in, and I should get 12 volts again. Great. Okay, so now I know that that the board at least is good from that angle, and I'm not sure it would be ever wrong or ever bad. This is the important part. This is actually how you check the voltage regulator. So I'm going to put my ground probe on ground, and then where it says VO, which is V out, that should say 5 volts. There you go, 5 volts. If you do that, and it does not say 5 volts, then the part that is bad is this right here. This guy. Okay. If that's bad, let me know. We can put one of those in an envelope and send it to you probably if you're capable to unsolder this and solder on a new one. I'm a fan of the send it back and we let us fix it and send it to you, or send it back and we'll send you a new one, something like that. Because I would certainly not want to waste everything else on this board that's good because of like a 50-cent voltage regulator that's bad. So if you send it back, we'll take this off and put a new one on and reuse it, right? Even if I don't resell it, I'll use it for myself or something. So that's important. And we did have one of those recently that went bad. These are little circuit boards, little things can go wrong, whatever. Every once in a while you get 1 in 1,000, 1 in a couple thousand things that go bad. So, but that's how you check the voltage regulator. Okay. You want to connect 12 volts and then just make sure that you've got 5 volts from ground to VO for out. And if that doesn't say 5 volts, then you've got a bad voltage regulator. Okay. You're going to need to replace that one way or the other. Contact us and we'll work it out with you. Desoldering is hard. Is harder than better to send it back. Yeah. Desoldering is not easy. I have taken those off. They're not too bad because you can actually put a little bit of traction. You can put a little bit of traction on them when you heat. You can heat all 3 of those at once and pull it out. That's what I did. Anyways. Okay. What's next on my list? Let's see if there's questions. Questions about what we've gone through so far. I know somebody was saying fuse, and we did check the fuse. Yep. What if you have 5 volts in? Oh, if you have 5 volts in, you have 5 volts in, I guess what would be the problem? Embrace the soldering iron. If you have 5 volts in, then check your power supply. Make sure that your power supply is giving you 12 volts, right here. Because if your power supply is not giving you 5 volts, then you may have a problem. Yeah, the regulator. And Quindor can tell us for sure, but I'm assuming that if you move this jumper over, then you're just not going to have the voltage regulator in the circuit anyways, right? If the D1 Mini is backwards, what happens if the D1 Mini is backwards? Quindor? I would assume that would be pretty bad. Is there a recommended iron in the store? Man, I'll tell you what, WM Rob, I do have like a cheap one in the store, but man, if you're going to get one, this one, it depends how much money you want to spend, right? If you don't want to spend much money, then don't get one of these, but this is like $50 maybe. And it's the, what was it called again, guys? Something 100? TS100. TS100. I love this thing. I love it. It's so handy. I just did a video about it a month or so ago with Dawson, and I love it. It's so fun. So yeah, if you're gonna spend, $20 on a soldering iron, you might as well spend $50 on the TS100. You'll enjoy it a lot more. The D1 Mini backwards, I don't know. That's not going to be good. 5 volts applied to the wrong pins, etc. Assume it's dead and might kill more components too. Yeah. So to make sure that you always have your controller, this is what I'm going to call the controller. You always want this controller to be oriented so that the USB input is facing the fuse. And that is not an accident. Quindor designed it specifically that way so that you wouldn't inadvertently or accidentally connect power to your DigUno and power to your control board, because that will make bad things happen as well. So it's the same way on the quad. It's not facing the fuse, but it's facing these MOSFET things or whatever these are. So it's not facing out. If you want to make sure that you've got your orientation correct on your controller, the USB input should always be not facing out. It should be on the inside, because you don't want to be able to plug in a USB while it's connected to the board. That's a no-no. So in order to help us not do that, Quindor oriented it so that the USB is inside, not on the outside. Okay. If you've connected it wrong, again, you may have destroyed it. You may need a new D1 Mini. Hopefully that's it. More magic smoke opportunities. Hey, Jed, how are you doing today? Okay. Does that help? Maximum distance for data line from the LED strips to the controller. Jesse, I've gone 40 meters, buddy. 40 meters. So that's over 100 feet. And not had a problem. Hey, baby. Oh, that is so cute. No. I do like it, though. Is it cut like that?
No. It's,
oh my goodness, it's cute.
It's the only way to put my hair up.
Oh, hey, one. There's some Dr. Pepper. Yeah. Here. Holly just came in. And that was 40 meters was with the null node or the sacrificial pixel, yes. And I wonder if, I mean, the voltage regulator or the voltage booster, the digital, what do you want to call it? The logic level shifter on the DigUno might even be better.
No.
Gladly. I want to go 100 meters. How would I boost this data signal if you need it? Ooh, I don't know if you're going to get 100 meters, man. I don't know if you can boost it enough. Quindor maybe can say something about that. I don't know. 100 meters is pretty far. Why would you go that far? What can you, is there other ways that you can put the controller closer? That's a long ways. Add a pixel every 30 meters. Oh, sir, good enough. That might work. Yeah, that might work. If you got 12 volt pixels, that might work. 3 null nodes. Yeah. 100 meters, put 1 pixel on 50 meters. Yeah, you guys got good ideas. I had never thought of that, but that's a great idea. I'll have to try that and see. Or if you try it, Jesse, was it Jesse that asked that? Oh, Leroy. Leroy asked that. If you try it, Leroy, let us know if it works. And Jed says F amp. And an F amp, I don't exactly know how to use one of those. Somebody else suggested that in the past. I don't know what that is or how to use it. Yes, and that's a good question. Quindor says for Leroy is, are you talking 100 meters away or 100 meters of LEDs? You can also buy WS2811 chips with no LEDs. Oh, is that right? I didn't know that. I did it on my setup with 2 null nodes. Oh, that's a great idea, Sander. That's a great idea. We still never figured out what's going on with poor Jaren's flickering. He's got a weird flickering thing in the middle. F-amp is a null pixel that is overpriced. 365 LEDs. The Halloween effect is only purple halfway through. I did power line in 3 spots. Do I need to put in another power supply on the other end? You shouldn't. I wonder if you have a bad pixel. Mech Mix, is there anything else happening with the colors? It's only purple halfway through. What does it do after that halfway? Does it kind of abruptly change or does it slowly fade? If it slowly fades and slowly changes colors over a certain distance, you know, over some feet, then it's probably, oh great. Hold on, I got a work phone call. Shoot. I'll let him leave a message. I'll talk to him in a bit. Thank you, honey. It fades out. Well, if it fades out, then it might be power. Yeah, it might be power. If it fades out, yeah, then I would say try and increase the power. Try and put power all the way to the other end. If you can do it from the same power supply, that's better. But if you can't, then you could use a separate power supply. Just remember what we were talking about. Make sure that it's not, the power supply is not, oh, that's the other thing. Mech Mix, make sure that you're, thank you, cute girl. Make sure that you don't have it set to be too dim in here. LED preferences, this right here, make sure that that is taking advantage of, you know, your, oops. Come on, Blade. Come on, sir, good enough. Where's my page? He hasn't paged me to tell me that I left the camera up. Oh, man. Okay, hold on. Sizzle. Okay. Anyways, wasn't me this time. Cool job, horrible profession. That's probably true. How many wLEDs will a D1 Mini control? I've had it run 800 without a problem. I think people have said once you get beyond 1200, you're probably going to see a decline in how well it handles some of the transitions. You may see some choppiness, decreased frame rate. And then 1500 right now is the limit that is built into wLED. Thank you, Jay Sizzle, for screaming at me and cheering me on. X-lights and LED lag when I use a rainbow effect or something. And sometimes there is latency. Yeah, Daniel, with these Wi-Fi controllers, they do work with X-lights. That is not their strength. So they can do E131, but it's not their strength. Sometimes it might be the controller trying to handle the Wi-Fi connection and the data from the X-lights, the E131 communication. The D1 Minis, especially the ESP8266, are not as powerful chip processing as maybe a 32. So if you had a 32, ESP32 might work better. Actually, I won't even say it might work better. It does work better because I've tried it with both. And I've definitely seen less lag and stuttering with an ESP32 trying to do the same thing as an ESP8266. So one thing to try would be to change to an ESP32, which is like $5, fine, to get one of those instead. The other thing is, if you know that you want to run, X-lights, then maybe the ESP32 is not or the ESP board is not the way to go. The Wi-Fi is not the way to go. And a wired connection is going to do you better. You may have better luck with different firmware like ESPixel Stick instead of wLED if your primary goal is to run X-lights, but I don't know if that's really going to be the case or not. I don't know that that's a fact, but something else to try. I have an ESP32. I cannot flash. Tried everything. Uh-oh, Nigel. So maybe it's bad ESP. You have two ESP32s, cannot flash. What happens when you try and flash them? Daniel says to animate it to music. X-lights. Yeah. X-lights. There's probably going to be, and you can look. I haven't seen it, but there is a version of wLED that's supposed to be music responsive. I haven't played with it. I really should. But there's a music responsive version of wLED. You could try that. Does the board accept 30 amps of power? The quad is set up for 30 amps, right? Continuous. I don't know if the Uno is or not. Do you need to flash the bootloader to flash the ESP32? I don't know, Mark. That's a good question. And some ESP32s, you have to hold the button down too. Does your PC make noise when you plug it in? Does it show up on the comm? I just had a dead one on arrival. Yeah. It would be pretty sucky to have two dead ones. Running the pre-installed wLED on my DigUno, is there any advantage to upgrading it manually? If the version that you're running, Milobi, is version 10, there are some good upgrades to version 10.2. So I would upgrade it, yeah. Which ESP32? So the ESP32 that I'm using is the Mini 32, and the software is just the ESP32 version of wLED. What's the average of 5 meters, 60 LEDs per meter pulse? Oh, that's a great question, William. Voltage. What's your voltage? I'm assuming that those are 5 volts. Could I use Twin plus Earth for power and data? I think you can at Romex or something. Oh, so that's two. Oh, I mean, you're just saying copper wires, Gary. You're just saying the big solid copper wires that we have like running through the house for like, because you have that kind of wire. Yeah. In fact, it's going to be less resistance than, like a 20 gauge stranded wire. Yes, that's where I was just going, Quindor. That's where I was just going. So thank you for popping that link in there. So if you want to know the amperage, you want to know the current draw of different LEDs, Quindor has a really good page right here. He just put it in the chat, so the link's already there. This is it, and he's gone through really well and done. This is what it's going to be on different effects and 12 volts versus 5 volts and different kinds of lights. Whether you have the WS2811s, which are the pixels that we use, or 6812s, SK6812s. Oh, there my light. My light just died. Trying to charge it back up again. Maybe it was just turned off because of timer. Anyways, this will tell you. But basically, it's dead again. Rule of thumb, you're going to be somewhere around. I say this even on the 5 volt lights, even though it's probably not as true on 5 volt lights. If you're on 12 volt lights, you're going to say 0.02 amps per pixel. If you're on the 5 volt lights, it's probably a little more than that, but it's still a decent rule of thumb to say 0.02. If you wanted to convert the watts yourself, I can't remember now what the watts are. Was it like 10 watts? 0.5? 0.5 watts per LED? That doesn't seem right. Maybe it's 0.05 watts per LED. I can't remember. Will, what do you got? Recommend this jig to flash any device that doesn't have USB flashing. Ooh, let's check it out. PCB workstation. Oh, you did show me this, right? Was this you, Will, that showed me this? That thing looks like torture. That looks like some sort of torture device. But it's pretty cool. I mean, if you want to flash, this is for flashing something that doesn't have a USB. I got to be honest, I don't see myself building that. But it's cool as heck. I do love, I mean, the idea is fantastic, right? It's got these little wing nut things, and you can basically slide any sort of board that you want in there, any size, and you can hold it steady. And then these are all of your jumper wires, and they're jumper wires connected to, if I remember right, they're connected to acupuncture needles. They're connected to acupuncture needles. And then you can precisely locate these acupuncture needles connected to your wires. You can just exactly put them exactly where you want them and keep them there. Oh man, it now works calling again. Sorry. Okay. Got a colleague out with COVID, or at least he's got symptoms, and so he's taking a test, and he's got to be out while he's taking the test. And stream is over. Place your bets. No, not today. But I'll tell you this: next week, next Sunday, I will be on call, and I'm going to try and stream, and I could get called in the middle of the stream and be told it's time to go. Does he really package these up and sell them? PCB workstation reviewed on Superhouse TV channel. Oh, cool. Buy your PCB workstation with nanoprobes. Oh yeah. Now hold on. If I don't have to build it myself, that's a whole nother deal. Oh. Can't select. What is this? Your PCB workstation. Special orders. Coupon code. Shipment is made by UPS Express Courier, and there are no... anyways. I don't know what this means. Oh. Workstation with 8 arms. Oh, this is what you're going to want. Workstation with 8 needle probes. 8 nano probes. Wow, he's got a bunch of things. Sheesh. Oh, wow. This dude is awesome. Giuseppe. Is this what you did, Will? Did you buy it from him? Here, you guys want the link? This is a squirrel. Yeah, it is. 50 euros is expensive for something you could print yourself. But man, I don't think I could print this thing and have it turn out very well. But we'll see. I'm not sure I'm going to buy one because I just don't. When I need to do this, I just do it. But I love that he's doing this. I think that's really great. That thing is so awesome. Like something out of Star Wars. Look at that. Under the microscope, look how exact he's putting those pins. That's crazy. That is super cool. I do think I need one. What am I saying? PCB workstation with nano probes, right? So that's the one I need. My electronics laboratory. 8 articulating arms. So this is the nano probe one. But oh, needle probes versus nano probes. Oh. Eight nano probes. I'll have to look through these and see which is the right one. Articulating arm expansion, more needle probes. Yeah, 50 for this. Something like that. And then 50 euros, that's even more for me. Okay, I'll have to put it on the Christmas list. Okay. The doctor's saying things are tiny and precision stuff. Cool tool. Old store user interface, yeah. Printed it. It's pretty good. Okay. Oh, can I change it to US dollars? Well, I know it's going to be more US dollars. Okay. Dr. Pepper time. Where were we? We were troubleshooting DigUno, right? And there was a couple more things that we wanted to tell you that you could potentially look at and fix. What's the difference between wLED and ES Pixel Stick? The biggest difference is the wLED has a much, much better user interface and effects and color selection process. ES Pixel Stick is built more to run with something like X-Lights, and it doesn't only do that. You can do some effects with it, and it's been a year plus since I played with it, or thereabouts. So maybe it's better, but there's no way that I would believe that it's gotten better than wLED. Like, it's just not that. It needs to be ridiculously good to be. It's the sorry for the burps. Anyways, so that's the main difference. ES Pixel Stick was done. I think it was done first, but it's basically for adding a one sort of prop or something to like X-Lights, and it does have some built-in effects, but they're pretty basic and not a real good user interface. wLED, on the other hand, is better than a lot of these commercial apps. When you buy an LED strip and a controller. Oh, Sir Goodenough, did you turn that? Did you turn my light on? Are you yellow? Who did that? Somebody did. Hold the boot button. Who did that? Ooh, Fat Boy, what did you do? Who did you help? Thank you for helping. Let's do this just for helping. Wasn't you? Yeah, it wasn't Blade because it's not red. It's like orange. So I don't know who did it. There you go, Tech Turtle. ES Pixel 6 maybe only better for small props with X lights. Yeah, if you want, it wasn't you, Yona. I don't know. I don't remember who's orange. But the paging system is working. Somebody paged me. Thanks for the page. I gotta turn it off. I wonder why I couldn't find it. Okay. Yeah, it still doesn't want to work that way. That's so crazy. But it's here, so I can just turn it back off. Page him again to look at chat. Fat Boy Smile, you paged me? How you do that? All right. Back to our list. Let's keep going here because there's a couple things. Oh, Sir Goodenough did it. Okay, so now we know orange is Sir Goodenough. 10 minutes ago? It's possible that it's been on for 10 minutes and I just barely looked at it. Oh, man. Gee, Dawn, am I invisible now? Sorry, Sir Goodenough. You're not invisible, brother. You're important. You're super important. I call Blade number 1, and I would call Sir Goodenough number 2, but that sounds bad. If it's not already been said, on a DigUno assembly, I assembled my own, and I put the two 51 ohm resistors wrong. The pads are the same distance apart, so oopsies. You doing okay, baby?
Yeah.
What's the matter?
Nothing.
Aww. I love you. Who all is using the Brave browser? I am actually using the Brave browser. The reason I haven't always used the Brave browser is because I haven't always had to put my passwords in and stuff. And but I've been trying to use it more and more. Yeah. I think I've earned like 50 cents. But there's a lot of good privacy things about it too. Okay, here we go. So we did the regulator, right? And here's the instructions to see. If you have a voltmeter, the DigUno board, check the voltage for the power regulator pins. If you're getting 12 volts, check your power supply. If you aren't getting 12 volts, check your power supply voltage. You may have a bad power supply if you're not getting 12 volts. If it isn't 12 volts, you have a bad power supply. If you have 12 volts at the regulator, then check the 5-volt pin. If you have 5 volts, then the regulator is good. If you do not have 5 volts, then the regulator is bad. And then I say submit a request for replacement. Yeah, can I say request? Like not a guarantee. All right, if the LED does not come on when connected to the D1 Mini or Mini 32 to your PC, then attempt to reflash it. We did that. Was the reflash successful? Is the blue light now on? If yes, then great, plug it back in. If it is on now, reconnect it to the Digboard, and you should be fixed. If it is not on successfully with the blue LED, is not coming on, then is likely a bad ESP, 32, whatever, submit request. Okay, if the blue light is on, okay, this is what we're going to check still. Okay, we got a couple things here. Well, really only one, I think. If the blue LED is on, but there is no output to the LEDs, you can check that the level shifter is not the problem by removing the data pin jumper. So we're going to go back to the camera for a minute. So if this is on, the light here is on, but you're not getting output to your lights, you can check that there's not a problem between the controller and here and the data wire, which really is just the logic level shifter, which I believe is one of these guys probably down here. You can check that by connecting your LEDs directly to these pins here. So let's do that. It's going to take a minute of disassembly and reassembly here, but we can get it done. We have the technology. If I can find the right screwdrivers. Do it this way. Oh, but you know what will happen? Yeah, it'll probably flicker and go all wild because this is probably too long. That's fine. It can flicker. We'll let it flicker. We'll let it flicker. Let it go. Let it go. Now you're asking for smoke. When I looked at that, I recognized those little guys. And I realized, yeah, this is different than when you build it yourself, right? Okay. That's not there. What I need is a female jumper that's already been cut. Like this. Okay. So I've got here a little female jumper. So I can put this on the pin over here that says GPIO2. Boop, and then I can just tie it into my data wire that goes to the LEDs. So what I've done here by doing that is I have bypassed the voltage regulator on the bottom of the board. Does that make sense? I bypassed the voltage regulator on the bottom of the board by removing this jumper and just connecting the data line from the LEDs directly to this pin over here that says GPIO2. All right. So this should still work. Oh yeah, it does still work. And it actually doesn't even, it's not even flickering. I'm kind of surprised about, but anyways. Yep, I bypassed the logic level shifter on the board here. So if you connect up your LEDs like this and they work, but when you remove this jumper and connect this back to the pin, the terminal down here, they don't work, then you have a problem with the logic level shifter. Submit a request for a replacement. That would probably be the best argument you might have for getting a replacement, because that shouldn't go bad. And we haven't seen anybody with this problem, correct, Quindor? This is just one other thing we thought maybe people could check if they're having issues. Most of the time, the problems that people are having are really fairly basic problems, or we have had a few D1 Mini problems. And I know at least in one case, besides me, when I did it to myself, it was a result of connecting the D1 Mini. Well, you have this jumper on 5 volts and you connect 12 volts here. That's the quickest way to destroy your D1 Mini. So please don't do that. Please, please, please. Oh, when you put 12 volts on the board, it might blow the shifters too. Okay, so the same thing, if you put 12 volts here, and this is on 5 volts, you could blow that. Oh, I bet that's what happened to Jaron. Because we looked at that on his house when we were trying to troubleshoot things, and we noticed that this was on 5 volts. The LEDs were still working for a while, but then, anyways. Okay, that was all the troubleshooting stuff that I wanted to go through. I think we covered it all. And then, so I'm going to now make sure all of this goes in the video description. Probably a better way to do this. Video description. Where you at? There it is. Oh, a lot of it's there. Oh, that's weird. Oh, no, it is all there. Okay, sweet. Huh. Maybe I did that and I forgot about it. Okay, yeah, it's there. All right. How to decide which fuse to use on the DigUno, Mark says. How to decide which fuse to use. I would base the fuse on, you want it to be big enough to handle all of your LEDs, but you want it to not be so big that your wires end up being the weakest link. But that shouldn't be a problem. Even you could probably get away with 10 amps through a 20 gauge wire. Don't tell any electricians I said that. But if the one that it comes with is 10, I wouldn't go. I don't know, what would Quindor say? Would you go bigger? Would you say 15? You can go 15 and not hurt your board. But 15 amps through a 20 gauge wire, you're pressing your luck quite a bit, I would say. At 10, you're probably pressing your luck quite a bit. Space heater wires. Yeah, you could definitely use this to warm your hands if you put 15 amps through it, maybe even 10. I kind of want to do some of those things. I've got in mind to do some, examples of overcurrent and what happens, but I haven't decided to destroy everything yet. Watching while hanging icicles. Nice. Up on a ladder? Watching Dr. Z stream up on a ladder, Mr. Paul. You're a brave man. 15 amp fuse is fine, but then add some power distribution right behind the board. Yeah. You just don't want to run 15 amps through one set of power wires here. I would really say you should distribute that at least once. Meaning split it. So when you have the way it works, this is for everybody who hasn't, done electrical stuff very much. Your lights are going to determine the load. Okay, so that your lights are going to determine the number of amps, and that is based on what color they are, how bright they are, how many of them there are. All right, so that determines the draw of the amps. So let's imagine you've got 10 amps worth of draw, the load, 10 amps of lights. If you've got one pair of wires, if you've got one set of wires like this, the data wire doesn't really have a load on it, doesn't have a lot of amps in it. It's very, very low current. But the plus and the minus are going to have that whole 10 amps on them. If you were to just add a second pair of wires from here, they would split the current. One pair would have 7.5, 5. I said 10. One pair would have 5. The other pair would have 5. And they would be a lot less hot. 12 volts, 115 amps is a lot of lights, right? That's plenty of lights. That's why you should be pretty good. I mean, if you're starting to get to, well, if you think about it, what's 1200 times 0.02? All right, 1200 times 0.02 is going to be, I don't know. Somebody do that. I can't do it in my head. It's not going to be a lot. If you had parallel wires, it should be okay. But would they all be controllable individually or each run be mirrored? So Peter, if you're talking about splitting the data wire. So we got to really separate in our minds the difference between the data and the power. Okay? If you split the data wire, yes, they will all be mirrored. They will all be doing the exact same thing. But if you split the power, it's just going to boost the voltage at some point in the strip and split the current that's coming back through those wires. Does that make sense? Well, if you don't put these at the beginning, are they still going to split the current? Yeah, I think they will, because they should all see the same amount of current. No, they won't. No, they won't. The trace on the circuit board is the weakest link. Sometimes, Paul, but not in the case of the DigUno, because Quindor has engineered it to be able to handle 15 amps. Peter, you got it? Good. Glad I explained that. And 0.06, I don't usually go with 0.06. I think it could be lower than that, but because if you look back at Quindor's how much power do things draw, I don't know what you came up with, Quindor, but when I did my own testing, which was not as significant or as intense as yours here, is not as sophisticated as yours, I never got close to 0.06 amps per. It was closer to 0.3, maybe 0.5. I have not celebrated subscribers in a while, so this is for all you subscribers that haven't been celebrated, like Gerard. Thank you very much for subscribing. Can you use the case as 0 and pull a live wire through to connect to from time to time? No. No, Fed, I wouldn't do that. You're talking DC, right? You're talking low voltage DC stuff. I think about that a lot. I think about how in cars, we sort of use the body of the car as the ground. To me, it just violates my electrical principle in my mind. I don't know. I wouldn't need it. I wouldn't do it. Yeah, Bossman, so you got, yeah, it depends on where you look. It depends on what we have codes, we have electrical codes that say you can only use this much current in this size wire to protect people. And it's mostly because of really high current draw. It's mostly to protect like homes and things. If at least in the US, I don't know where you are, but at least in the US, the National Electrical Code doesn't go below like what, 18 gauge wire or something like that. And then they're very conservative. So just because if it says you can do 10 amps in a 16 gauge wire, it doesn't mean that if you put 10 amps in an 18 gauge wire that it's going to melt, because it's not. It might not even get warm. You might not even notice 10 amps in an 18 gauge wire. You know? And as the distance goes further, you're going to get more resistance. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. But trying to run the only reason that I sort of advocate for being less conservative on our current capacity or current carrying ability of wires is because running 16 gauge wire is just not practical. Like you can't take a 16 gauge wire and screw it into this. And in most cases you shouldn't need to. Yeah, so you're working and the stuff that you're working with when you start getting into the number 2 wire and the 1-aught wires and stuff like that, you could have some devastation. This could cause a fire, and it could be really bad if you overdo it, but it is better to be safe than sorry. You're absolutely right. I agree. I just have to stop, when I can't fit the wire in here anymore. I gotta be like, all right, I gotta do something else. Do I not use crimpers? I do sometimes, not all the time. I should all the time. Let's see. What did somebody hook up to it? Anyway, so let's take the last 20 minutes or so. You guys can keep asking questions. We can keep answering questions about the DigUnos, the DigQuads, wLED, your holiday lights. This is the season, right? Everybody wants to get their lights up now so that they're in place when the holidays really hit, And I think this is you're too careful. You're great, Bossman. I appreciate it. It's really hard for me to advocate for something that's less careful, right? That's kind of what I'm doing. So I just have seen people say kind of like that, like, oh no, you need 12 gauge wire for that many LEDs. And I'm going, 12 gauge wire? Good grief. It becomes at some point you engineer yourself out of the ability to actually build this stuff if you're going too conservative. That's the only place I draw the line. But if you've got 16 gauge wire, go for it, man. I typically I don't go anything bigger than 18, and most of the time it's 20. Yeah, if you're an engineer, especially an electrical engineer, yeah, then I appreciate that you're not totally destroying me and telling me how awful of a person I am for advocating that people are less conservative with their current capacities and stuff. Because you certainly have the right to do so. But I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we have people that have that kind of expertise that get involved, because not everybody understands that you can have these problems, right? You don't know what not a lot of people that haven't played with electricity understand what they can't do with it. And some people will try and take a 22 gauge wire and run 10 amps through it, and it is going to melt. Like me, I did that. Did you guys catch it? There was that stream at Christmas time, and I was doing a bunch of tests, and we were working with some things, and I didn't really pay attention to what I was doing, and I ended up running like 1,000 LEDs, and I think I had them like on bright white, the whole thing, through like 120 gauge wire. And I'm sitting here and we're talking and stuff, and I'm going, ow, something's hot, like I can smell it. And sure enough, man, I was running like 1,000 LEDs through one little jumper wire, which might even have been a 22 gauge wire. And it got hot and it was going to melt. I could, you look at it, when I looked at the coating, the insulation on it was getting like shiny. You know how it gets when it starts to melt? It was getting shiny. It was bad. LEDs, not a stadium light. Yeah. All right, what do we got? Voltage drops horrible 5 volts. How long of a run do you go with your 18 or 20 gauge wire? If it get I go until it gets dim. I don't know. I've gone. I'm trying to think of the longest. I guess I've got some. Would it be the Castle LEDs? Would it be? No, it would be the LEDs that I have. The new strip here. It's probably only. It's 20 gauge wire, and it's probably going 40 feet, 30, 40 feet. Ooh, what's this? What do you got here? Quindor's got a calculator. Ooh, I like this. I haven't seen this one before. So this is what you do for a quick voltage drop calculator. I'll post that for, well, you just did. I don't know why I have to post it again. Anyways. So here's something you can use if you wanted to, I guess you leave the resistivity. Does it change? Yeah, it changes based on this. And then you put in here what size diameter. And then you put in here how long. And then we're using DC and what the voltage is. Oh, this is cool. Whitey, are you here? Are you watching the stream? We haven't mailed that one. Dang it. I got to get that on. I have to keep forgetting to tell Zach it's there. Sorry, it's been so long since we did one of those. If you're watching, Whitey, I apologize. Dang it. Got somebody waiting for that and I haven't sent it. I'll do it. We got to do it today. So if you've got to figure out what your load is going to be in amps, right? And let's say we've got a 4 amp load. That's just kind of nice. We're using copper wire. Let's say we're using 22 gauge wire, really tiny wire. Oh, yeah, fine. Let's see. And now it'll tell us what the voltage drop's going to be if we're using 5 volts, okay? And it's going to be a lot. Drop in volts. So almost 1 whole volt. So I guess this doesn't tell us voltage drop in volts. Is this telling us how much it drops or what the end voltage is? Let's see what happens if we go up in our feet. That's probably just how much it drops. So now it's going to drop more, I would bet. Yeah. So if you go 20 feet in a 22 gauge wire with 5 volts, you're dropping 2 volts. You're going to be like 3. You're going to be at 3 volts. Nothing's going to work. If you want something to run that it's supposed to be 5 volts that it runs on, and you've dropped it down to 3, it's probably not going to work anymore. It's be like something that runs on 3 batteries. You only put 2 batteries in it. It's not going to work. This is a really good calculator. I'm gonna bookmark that. Wow, thank you, Quindor. I had not found this. This is great. Ooh, and then if you want to do some equations, you totally can do some equations here. It's really fun. Wire resistance. No, just do this part up here. You can replace thick wires only by thicker wires. And 22 is pretty small. So most of the time what we're using, honestly, for me, most of the time what I'm using is 20. So I'm using 20 gauge wire. And it's still a drop, but it's not quite as bad. If you're doing 12 volts, the thing about 12 volts is it drops by 1%. It can drop more and it'll still work. AC voltage has more drop. Is that right? AC voltage drops more. Nobody's using. Well, I guess so this is. I had somebody run into this problem. So sometimes your doorbells, if you have a powered doorbell for your house, a lot of times that power supply is AC. It might be 12 volts, but it's AC. And if you don't know that and you connect and you think, oh, I'm just going to connect that, a new device like a camera that runs on 12 volts, I'm going to connect that to my doorbell power supply. It ends badly. It's the main reason why DC is used. Why don't we use DC more for everything? Because I've read about that or seen that or something, right? Because who was it that was more in favor of DC? Somebody was more in favor of DC. Somebody was more in favor of AC, between like Alexander Graham Bell or something like that and Tesla, or I can't remember who it was, but no reason not to use larger gauge to bridge longer distances. Sure. It's just expense, and then at some point it becomes cumbersome to deal with huge wires. But yeah, let's keep going. Tesla and Edison. Tesla was AC and Edison was DC. Is that right? If we use AC in our homes, then we all have mega thick cables running in our homes. Accidentally used a 12 volt AC power supply. It worked until it didn't. Yeah. I've recently realized that I did the opposite. I have a pair of computer speakers that I could not get to work. And I'm like, what is going on? I plug them in and they don't work. I plug them in and they don't work. I've got to check and see if I didn't even get rid of them, because I recently, just like a couple days ago, found the power supply for those speakers in the garage in a bin full of stuff. And the power supply is AC. So here I have a pair of computer speakers. They're probably 20 years old. Okay, to be fair. I don't know why they did this, but these computer speakers ran on 12 volt AC. So that's why they weren't working, because I was connecting them to DC power supply. And so they weren't working. I assume that they will work if I plug them into an AC power supply at this point, but I don't know. I got to try and find them and just test them out. But yeah, you kill more elephants with AC. Travels much better over longer distances. All right, Daniel Groot's having Home Assistant troubles. Trying to set up Home Assistant, but I get this error in the Pi. Timer expired. What does that mean? I have no idea. How did your SD card, did your burning of the image to the SD card go as planned, or what stage are you at there? Did you get that notice? I don't know what eScan timeout is. I turn both around if we have DC in our homes, not AC. So here's an interesting thing. Let me, I'm going to share, look guys, you guys want to have some fun? Let's have some fun for the last few minutes. So for some of you, you may have been around when on the streams in the summertime, a few months back, when we were looking at purchasing some empty land as a family here, the Z's family, the Aidens. We have bought some empty property to build sort of a homestead or a fun little place to have family trips and reunions and stuff too. And we've been working on different plans and ideas, and this is what we're gonna build. This is the latest floor plan. This is what we're gonna build. But everything that's gray is gonna be underground. Well, this is not exactly a very good rendering of it. I'll show you. We were gonna do the magic home thing, the magic green home. Green magic homes. This is the fun. I'm going to show you this because it's fun and it's the last 10 minutes. So we're building one of these, basically. It's not going to look like this exactly. This is actual real greenery that grows on the top. Like you actually do put dirt and grass or something on top. It's a fiberglass body with insulation and then usually a few feet of dirt on top. So we're going to build one of these. But of course, because I am super nerd, it's going to be a Hobbit hole. It's not going to be like this. It's going to be a Hobbit hole. So these are our plans. As of right now, I've got a little bit different plan too, but we're going to have round windows. The architect wasn't able to put the door, but this front door is going to be a big round door, which we've started building in our backyard. So we're going to put a big round door here. This is going to be a Hobbit hole. It's going to be buried, with dirt all around and stuff. The reason that I brought this up right now, besides just to say, look how cool this is, isn't this going to be fun? Yes, it's a Hobbit house. Yes. And we're going to use Dome Assistant instead of Home Assistant. You like that? But it's off grid. So it's going to be totally solar dependent, right? Thank you for subscribing, everybody. It's going to be totally solar dependent. Now we have several electrical engineering types here in the chat today. And the the thought that I'm having about this is, okay, we've got a lot of things in the house that are going to run on DC. Maybe not a ton, but some, right? All of our, we could certainly put 12 volt LED lights through the whole thing. We could do, we're probably not going to have a lot of smart switches and stuff because it's going to have, those all have constant power draw. But certainly our lights are going to be low voltage. If we're going to have, we could have fans. I think TVs, I wish we could get to the point where we could run TVs on DC instead of AC. The reason is because when you have solar panels, you're producing DC voltage and then you're converting it to AC and you're losing a little bit, right? You're losing a little bit of power there. You've got some inefficiencies in that process of going from DC to AC. And then you're going into the house. And then you're converting it from AC to DC at the device in almost every device. Like maybe your kitchen appliances, your blenders and stuff, you're not converting it to DC. Like your air conditioning, okay, you're not converting it to DC. Your oven's fine, you're not converting it to DC. But for a lot of your other things, your TVs, your lights, you're converting it all back to DC. So why do that? 120 volt system is bad. A lot of expensive, thicker wires is needed. 220 is better. Yeah, well, we don't have that choice here. Cables would have to be big. So you shied away from the Chinese fiberglass modular units that be hooked together. Yeah, you know what, Wombat? We did change. We changed to this, which is going to be a lot more expensive. And the reason is, I could show you. But the reason that we've changed is because the manufacturer of that styrofoam dome that I wanted to try, and I still think I'll buy one, a small one, and have them ship it, and we'll try and put it all together. But I would ask them a bunch of questions like, okay, I need this. What do you tell me how it works? What do you need? And then I even tried to buy it. Like I even went to purchase and got the wiring, because you have to wire them the money. And I was like, okay, we're going to buy it. And then all of a sudden he's like, oh, it needs a steel structure. I'm like, oh, it needs a steel structure. Okay. Oh, tell me about the steel structure. What does it need? Can I buy it? Where's the plans? Blah, blah, blah. And the communication was just so difficult. I think it's a really good option. I think their thing is a really good option. This made Mrs. Z's a lot more comfortable, and honestly, it makes me a lot more comfortable too, because this company, they at least have an office here in the U.S. The pieces are made in Mexico, and they will do a lot more walking you through the process. In fact, they're at the point now, they've been doing these homes for about 4 or 5 years, it seems like, as best I can look back and see when people started talking about it and stuff. And they're at the point now where they actually want you to have a builder come do it. And I think that they've probably had problems where people didn't do it right. And they had water leaks, or they had, construction problems where things didn't get done right. So they have people that will come out and build it, put it together and waterproof it for you. So that was attractive to us. Number one, because I want it done right. Number two, because I wasn't sure how I was going to have time. I think I could do it right, but the time that it would take with me and maybe 1 or 2 of my sons and maybe a couple of friends here and there to try and go up there and do it. I still have a job. It's not like I can go up there and just spend a week, and things arrive at different times. And so I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this, when I'm thinking about that foam dome and how we're going to layer it with concrete, I'm thinking, how am I actually physically going to get this done? Like, how am I going to go up there myself and do this? And so this is where we're at now. We just made this change like this week to say, I think we're going to use a different system, because we're going to end up paying a lot more. It's going to be like double the price, but we'll have somebody else do the most important stuff. And when they're done, we'll have a shell. And we'll fill in the shell on the inside with the walls and all that stuff. And we're making the front door. We're still going to do a lot of the contracting ourselves, a lot of the general coordination of things ourselves. But somebody will actually come in and put together the fiberglass structure and waterproof it. And then we'll go from there. That's not so simple if you're at a different place and have unregular hours. Yeah, like me, like my job. Expand in the house, self-power for most of the time. Look for TVs on 12 volts for the RV. Oh, that's a good idea. Well, you know, the other thing is too, most of our, well, even these monitors, man. Well, but yeah, you know what? That's a good idea. I think I will do that. So what did you guys say about that? So even if I didn't catch it, what am I going to make? Amari, we're going to make a Hobbit house. We're making a Hobbit house. We're building a Hobbit house. These aren't the best pictures. There are some good pictures up here. I can actually tell you which one we're going to build. It's kind of like this one, honestly, but it's only going to have one of these. So this website has, this one was built in Colorado. This is how it goes together. It's these big panels. And then on the other side of this, there's grooves, and they just they put a gasket in there and they bolt it together, and then they seal it on the outside. The one we're getting is pretty much this one with some modifications. And these are just renderings. These are computer renderings. This is not an actual house that somebody built yet. But there's the floor plan. So, and then this is our modified floor plan of that, basically, with a basement. So this would be the upstairs. This would be a big Hobbit door, round windows everywhere, a big kitchen open area here, master bedroom here. And we're going to do some fun stuff like this. This door right here is going to be a secret door into the master bedroom. And this door right here is going to be a secret door because we'll rent this thing out, but we'll put this secret door here so we can keep our own personal stuff up there and not have everybody have access to it. Where are the solar panels going to be? Good question. The solar panels are actually going to be on a pavilion next to this house. So we're going to build. That's one of the first things we're going to build is just a pavilion, basically with a slab with a roof, and the solar panels are going to go on that roof. Habitat instead of Home Assistant. It's going to be Dome Assistant. Yeah. It's fun. We actually built, and I videoed some of it. I haven't put it all together yet. I could probably go through some of the stuff for you. Maybe we can do that on another stream. But we built a door. Me and Zach built a door. Here it is. That's 2:00. This is when you see my face light up, it means it's 2:00. My shades are going up, and it's time to end the stream. But me and Zach built a Hobbit door. It's 6 foot round Hobbit door, and we even did this. I was so proud of this. We put the doorknob in the middle, and it unlatches at the far end, right? Like a regular doorknob would work. It's awesome. Why am I making this? Why not? We're making this because we want a family retreat kind of an area. We want a place where we can go for family reunions, and that we can rent out to other people to use for their family reunions when they want. So we were fortunate enough to be able to buy some land. And so we bought this land. It's 40 acres. It's about 2 hours from where we live. And it's beautiful. It's a wonderful little place. Not a lot of trees there, but that's one of the things we're going to do is plant some trees. It's very hilly. It very much looks like the Shire. I mean, that's why building a Hobbit house there is just a no-brainer. It very much looks like the Shire. So we're going to build a Hobbit house now. Later, we're going to build, because we've got 40 acres, and later we're going to build a bigger place that maybe look like a castle. Not maybe. We're going to build a bigger place that look like a castle. But for right now, so that we can get something built in the next few months and start using it, we're going to build a little Hobbit house like this. How many bedrooms? This one has, I guess you'd say 3 bedrooms, but it does have this room here, which could be a bedroom as well. This would be like a movie room or something here. So it's got 2 big bedrooms downstairs and 1 big bedroom upstairs, and then big living space. This is like a visiting, where you have couches, piano, dining tables, all this stuff in there. It's pretty fun. Watch out for the gold ring. When digging, watch for the gold ring. Check Discord. Okay, Bossman. Thank you, man. Oh, cool. High-end tiny house. Oh, that's what we should do. Oh my gosh, I'm just going to tell my wife that. She wants to go up there, and we can just rent an RV. Take an RV up there. Because right now there's nothing there. There's no utilities or anything, right? But it would be super fun to take an RV up there. Okay, now all of a sudden I'm enthused about going up there. Before there's a house. Bulldoze the hills and add a lake. There is a lake. Right across the highway. So we're about 500 feet from the highway. And across the highway is about 20 feet from a lake with fishing and all that stuff. Go on then, do a Gollum impression. Maybe we'll sign off like Gollum today. In fact, I'll call the kids up right now. We'll sign off like Gollum today. Where's the sign off button? Sign off, sign off. Make sure you have large windows to be able to actually see the landscape. What a great idea.
It's time for sign off. It's time for sign off. It's time for sign off.
So it's fun. Be watching for videos about that. Looking at those Chinese 2-person domes to make some tiny homes to rent out along a river. I really like them, and I still want to get one of those Chinese domes, that we were looking at. But I think what we'll start with is one that will turn into like a garage. Hi everybody. How's it going?
So I'm going to be wearing the gymnastics competition.
Oh, really? You doing your hair up for a competition? All right, you're tired?
I can't run upstairs anymore. Why is it on there?
If you take pictures and it saves them, it comes to my... Move the warrior doll with the glowing eyes there. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, the castle guy? Yeah. Zach just asked me that yesterday, and I said, yeah, we'll probably do something like that. Yeah, that is.
I don't know who that is.
This is what ours is going to be pretty soon, right?
Are we going to be able to climb on top right now?
Yeah. All right, fun stream. Thanks for lots of good stuff. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks, everybody. All right, we're going to do sign off like Gollum. You guys remember Gollum from the movies?
Oh, no.
He's the one that's like, yeah, Schmeagol. Like, Precious. We're going to sign off like Gollum. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Ready?
As always, thanks for watching. Until next time. I got Dr. Pepper.
Wait, stop, Dad, stop.
Oh, we spilled Dr. Pepper everywhere. Okay, adios, everybody. Bye.